Now, what they're liable to say next is, well, you know, all of us have different opinions of the truth, and it's all based on faith. And we can't base public policy and decisions on faith. We need to apply reason. Well, again, C.K. Chesterton told us, reason itself is a matter of faith. It's an act of faith to assert that our thoughts have any relation to reality at all. You may have heard the jokes about the professors who in psychology classes and philosophy classes would say, how do you really know that you exist? And that's what they're asking. I love what Ravi Zachariah asked. He says, when anybody ever says that to me, I like to say, and who may I ask is asking? I don't know. Who's asking? Are you sure you exist to ask the question? You know, I'll tell you another little story. I hope these stories are demonstrative and give you a clue what I'm talking about. And they're not just old war stories from an old warrior. But I was in the locker room at the YMCA a few years back. I used to exercise. And then I found the verse in Timothy that says bodily exercise profits little, but godliness is great gain. And so every time I feel the urge to exercise, I grab my Bible and go into a devotional state. But I was exercising, and there was a guy in the locker room, a Christian guy, and I knew him. I didn't know him very well. And there was another guy, and we never really talked much, but I knew where he worked, and he worked for some liberal kind of think tank policy sort of organization. And so we just didn't chat a lot. So we're getting dressed after we'd all worked out, and we all happened to be there at the same time. And the Massachusetts opinion about gay marriage had just come out saying the Constitution of Massachusetts required gay marriage. So my friend John, who's the sort of the Christian guy, looked over at the other guy, and I'm just minding my own business, okay? And he said, hey, what did you think about that decision in Massachusetts about the gay marriage? And the guy said, you know, I just hate it when the government tries to tell people what to do. Well, that was too much for me to let go. And I said, oh, this is the first time I've ever spoken to the guy. I said, oh, that's really fascinating, because I thought that's all the government did do, was tell us what we could do or not do. And he said, well, you know what I mean. I said, well, no, I'm not real sure. And he said, well, what I mean is when people start trying to use their faith to tell other people what to do. And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, that's different. I said, I guess we should base our decision on reason and science. And he said, absolutely. And I said, well, then I guess your faith is in reason and science. That was the end of the conversation. But you see, he has to base it on faith. He can't use reason to prove reason because that's circular. And all science can tell you is what happens when I go around having unprotected sex. I have a higher risk of getting disease. But it can't tell me that I should or should not engage in that sexual activity. It might be suggesting that we only be careful. Science can't give a should or an ought. It can provide data, but you have to have a moral framework by which to evaluate the data to say, oh, if you go around having multiple partners in unprotected sex, that's bad and you ought not do that.